Hello lovely people, how are you doing? Have you ever wondered why your boundaries don't work? And everyone always says, oh, you need to put in thicker boundaries, especially if you're a lovely, kind, wonderful human being. Then all of your friends and the people who love you will say, you need to put in boundaries, because there are people who take advantage of your loveliness. There are people who overstep the mark. And so you think, right, this is the last time, the very last time I'm going to allow X, Y, Z, blah, 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 to happen. I'm going to put in boundaries. And you may even write your boundary in an email, your terms and conditions. You may say to somebody, look, I don't appreciate this anymore, I'm done, don't do this. You can ask them repeatedly and nothing changes. And sometimes when you go through life, it is pretty much like Groundhog Day. So you have people who come into your life that do the same thing to you, but they have a different face. And this is what's known when you're having patterns happening to you, repeated patterns in life. So in a sense, it's almost like all of these people become actors in a story that keeps being played out in exactly the same way. So you think, oh, my boundaries are clearly not working. I shall put in more boundaries. Now, here's why boundaries don't really work. Because to anyone who is kind of like a, let me say, challenging human being, a bit narcissistic, psychopathic, or just plain annoying, if you put in a boundary, they see it as a rule, and they love breaking rules. And let's face it, rules, they don't really work. They hardly ever work on children. They certainly don't work on adults, let's face it. So for a lot of people who are kind of like, the people who want to kind of mess with other people, like a cat with a ball, they're going to see a rule and they're going to go, great, something to break, and I'm going to smash right into that. Because boundaries are hard, aren't they? They're kind of hard, but they're brittle. They're kind of they're keep away from me, stay away, stay away. They're kind of like a thing of keeping people at distance. And of course, the minute you do that, people go, oh, there's a massive, great big wall, huge wall. What's going on behind the wall? Oh, there's a person down there that doesn't want to be messed with. So, a friend had a brilliant analogy for this, and he said it's very much like if you feel like you want to keep your energy to yourself and you want everyone to leave you alone. So you're sitting on public transport and you put your coat or your bag on the seat just to kind of give the impression that I don't want anyone to sit next to me because I don't want to engage in small talk, I really want to be left alone. And the person who comes and sits next to you is exactly the kind of person that you didn't want to sit next to you. Because all of the friendly, lovely, warm, open-hearted, good energy people see that and go, person wants to be left alone, and they go and find another seat. But the people who have strong personalities will go, could you move your bag, please? Could you move your coat? Could you move your stuff? Could you move? Could you move? When there's plenty of other seats that are available for them to actually go and sit in. This isn't on a jam-packed train, because if you're on a jam-packed train and you put your stuff in a seat, you're an asshole. Just saying. So, people love breaking boundaries. So what are you going to do about it? Because that's probably the worst news you've ever heard, because we always believe that a boundary is going to protect us. And the reason why we believe a boundary is going to protect us is because we're fearful. We're fearful. It's like the feeling of, I can't cope if somebody else tries to screw with my head. I can't cope with that anymore. I've had enough. So we're fearful and we put up these boundaries. So behind this harsh exterior is someone who is soft and squidgy and putty-like and lovely and wonderful on the inside. And we're just trying to keep ourselves as precious so that we don't have to put up this harsh exterior which keeps people out as much as it keeps the wrong people out. It keeps the right people out too. So let's just change this up a little bit. Let's find a new way of doing this. And the new way of doing it is what I would call a self-love boundary. Now, self-love boundary just basically doesn't say, keep away from me, doesn't say anything of the sort. It has value. So you say, I'm precious, I'm valuable, I matter, I mean something, I'm important in the world. You don't get to mess with me. You just don't. There's no, don't mess with me, I'm angry about it. There's just, you don't get to mess with me. It's kind of like a passive, powerful brilliance. And it's not that power over power, it's that I stand in my power. I know my worth, I know my value, I know how amazing I am. And it's kind of like, it's almost like wearing an invisible cloak. Because if there isn't something to butt up against, if the power is just simply like I hold my choices. So you cannot control another human being, you just can't. So whenever you put up a boundary of fear, it comes across as being controlling. And certainly people who've had a lot of trauma in their childhood will become very controlling of their environments in order to create boundaries. But once you come from a place of self-love, it's almost like there's no boundary, it's just worth. You wouldn't mess with me because I'm valuable. You just wouldn't come anywhere near me. So it's almost like having an invisible cloak where you don't have to tell people to keep away, they just do. Because when you love yourself, it's like the most confident kid in school never got bullied. Not because they were like the most confident blah, 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 because let's face it, normally someone who's insecure, who's a bully, is going to attack the most confident person. But they don't, they sort of go, oh, well, okay, well, let's not do that. They attack the weak, vulnerable ones. So the more you love yourself, the more you stand in your power, the more you stand in your purpose, the more you stand in, I am a value, I deserve to be here, the more people go, well, all right then. Because we only overpower the things that seem to be weak. It's in nature, isn't it, as well? The lion will go for the weakest of the pack. It's not going to go for the strongest. It's going to exhaust itself. And this is the thing. Anyone who wants to kind of like mess, they want to win. But if they know that you have a sense of value and you have a sense of purpose and you're just really clear about that and you're really in your zone, then they can come at you, but nothing penetrates. Because the only way that somebody can truly insult you is if they say something that you believe to be true. That's the only way that they can truly get to you. When you know that you are of value and somebody says something to you that's really negative, there's no Achilles heel. So it doesn't get to you. You almost kind of like laugh it off. And they wouldn't say it in the first place because there isn't anything to attach it to. So your cloak of invisibility, and this doesn't mean that you kind of like disappear, but you disappear from the wrong people. You disappear, you just become, they don't come and attack you. So you don't need those kind of fearful boundaries. So rather than spending a lot of time generating your fear into building a wall, to sound a little bit like Donald Trump, use it instead to build your love, your self-love, your brilliance, and expand your aura out, expand you out, expand yourself out. And then you find that you get a lot less hassle in your life. Believe me, I've been there. You'll get a lot less hassle in your life.